YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to the Off the Schneid 2020 NFL Preview Series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their rosters, their schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time at the channel, do me a massive favor, hit that like and subscribe button, turn on notifications, and check the description for links to social media for Off the Schneid. Follow us on there as well. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com for helping me to make these videos. I'm on their website almost daily, and if you're a serious football fan, guys, you need to have this website bookmarked, favorited, whatever it is. Helps me at draft time, fantasy football purposes, when creating bet slips, as well as DFS lineups. It's your one-stop shop for NFL scouting services. There's a link in the description for OurLads.com as well as the social media. Do me a favor again, hit that like and subscribe button. But enough of that. Let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. All right, we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. If you're a fan of the channel, if you know anything about me, you know that I am a Cincinnati Bengals fan. Don't ask me how or why, but I'm a fan of the Bengals. So this is going to be a little homerish. It is what it is. Apologize, but it is what it is. I'm obviously a little bit biased to my team. So let's start out with quarterback. As always, Joe Burrow, #1 pick. I mean, here's going to be what everybody's been saying a lot about Joe Burrow. One good season. He's had one good season in college. Turns out that one good season in college was the greatest college season in quarterback history that's ever happened. And it was just, he was on another level. He was ridiculous in college. 60 touchdown passes, 60, and 5 rushing. 65 touchdowns. That's video game stats. Like, that just doesn't happen. Obviously. Just doesn't happen. So people that are saying, oh, one good season. Yeah, it's one good season. It's the greatest season that's ever happened. So I'll take those odds, you know, like I'll take that. If that's what I'm taking a risk on, I'll take that. I'll take those odds. So I like Joe Burrow a ton. I've already got a Joe Burrow jersey, LSU jersey. And I think that he's going to be the truth, and I think he's going to be everything that any NFL team looks for in a quarterback. And I'm extremely happy that he's on mine. So Joe Burrow, I think, is going to be very good. If you want to see my projections for his stats, his rookie year stats, as well as T. Higgins, you can check out that video on my channel. But I'm extremely happy and extremely comfortable with having Joe Burrow as my starting quarterback. Move down to running back. We got Joe Mixon, who is fantastic. There's a couple issues I have with Joe Mixon. He's a little inconsistent, especially early in the season. He's a kind of a late starter. And he runs a little too east-west for me. A little too he's trying to break too many big plays. Just get your yards sometimes. Get a 1 or 2, 3, 4 yards. Get whatever you can and call it a day. We don't need you to bust off a 20-yard run every time you touch the ball. So those are the two things that I kind of have an issue with Joe Mixon sometimes. He's a bit of a slow starter, and he's always trying to break off big plays. He doesn't just get the yards sometimes. Tight end position is pretty lackluster. I really was hoping that they would go after a guy like Harrison Bryant or Adam Troutman, someone like that in the draft. I was really, really hoping we would add a tight end there. Drew Sample was a second-round pick for us, which was a shocker. It was crazy when it happened. I couldn't believe it. I had no clue who Drew Sample was, and to be honest, I still don't really. So we'll see what preseason kind of brings and how he looks. He kind of was drafted as kind of like an H-back position, utility type guy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see how he does. TJ Houshmandzadeh, CJ Uzama, I think, is going to be the primary tight end, pass-catching tight end on this team. I think he's the only guy with experience there on this roster, and he had some success with it the past 2 seasons. So I think he's going to be the primary pass-catching tight end in this offense. Obviously, they drafted T. Higgins, who, in my opinion, is the replacement for AJ Green. 6'4", ran a 4.5. Same thing AJ Green did. So I think, and obviously that's not how NFL math works, don't get me wrong, but I think that that's why they drafted him as a replacement for AJ Green. I think he does report. I think he does play. I think everything like that. He plays under the franchise tag. I don't think there's any issues anymore. I think it does happen, but I think he certainly moves on after this season unless they sign him to a long-term deal, which I just don't see happening. I don't think we re-sign AJ Green, which would really suck. I would really hate to see him go, but at the end of the day, it's the prudent decision. It is. They have guys that can replace him, and it just wouldn't make sense for us to sign a 32-year-old AJ Green long for, 4-year contract, or even a 2-year deal would be. We just don't need to do that. So I think that this is the last year we have AJ Green on the roster, and we have some replacements. Auden Tate and T. Higgins are both capable kind of replacements for AJ Green. Are they as good? T. Higgins might be. I don't know. I'm not going to say Auden Tate. I'm not going to put Auden Tate up there with AJ Green, but even though he can make some very good catches, very, very, very good catches, he plays hard. I really like Auden Tate, but I don't think he's a replacement for AJ Green's stats. Don't get me wrong, but T. Higgins could be that guy. Tyler Boyd in the slot, one of the better slot receivers in the NFL, I think. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons under the circumstances and the conditions of the team. I think that that's a very, very solid stat to have. And then if John Ross can stay healthy, finally, he's been working with TJ Houshmandzadeh, who I mentioned earlier accidentally, but he's been working with him in the offseason, and Hoosh has really, really gone to bat for him, and said that this could be kind of his breakout season, and hopefully it is. With that 4.2 speed, man, if he could stay healthy, that's going to help that offense exponentially. So that'll be really helpful. The big issue always with the Bengals is the offensive line. It's been a boon in our side for years. Hopefully a returning and healthy Jonah Williams. Billy Price really needs to take a step forward. Hopefully Michael Jordan could take a huge step forward. Signed Su'a-Filo. He should be helpful. Bobby Hart looked okay last year. I think he could be the answer at right tackle. They drafted Hakeem Adeniji. Fred Johnson is a kind of a project guy. Obviously, he's not starting. Doesn't have to anyways. If there's an injury to say Jonah Williams again, goodness gracious, this is gonna not be good for the Bengals. So if Jonah Williams can stay healthy, Billy Price takes a step forward, Michael Jordan takes another step forward, Su'a-Filo is just exactly what he is. I think they could be okay. I think we could be okay. It's definitely still not a super strong suit on this team, but I think we're okay. I would have liked to draft maybe another, interior guard just in case. But I guess that sends a message that you're comfortable with your offensive line. So hopefully we're okay. That's that's kind of the best thing we can ask for, is hopefully we're okay. And then go back to running back. If there's an injury to Joe Mixon, or if he decides to hold out for whatever reason, we're in some trouble in the running game, because they don't have a replacement for Joe Mixon. They just don't. Giovanni Bernard is okay. He's capable, but he's not a pound between the tackles type guy at all. And they just don't have a replacement for Joe Mixon. They just don't. So, I mean, maybe if the injury happens early enough, they can go out and sign a veteran guy who's out there still, and hopefully that can help. But I mean, if there's an injury to Joe Mixon, or he decides to hold out, we're going to be in some trouble offensively in Cincinnati. That's just what it is. Move to the defensive side of the ball. Went out and signed a couple of former Minnesota Vikings, Mackenzie Alexander and Trey Wayans, who will be very helpful. I'm very, very happy to have those two guys. Xavier Rhodes I didn't want any part of, but these two guys I'm very happy to have on the roster. William Jackson III, former first-round pick. I love the guy. Darius Phillips is super underrated. I was actually surprised that they went out and signed these two guys, because they have Darius Phillips. I thought he was potentially going to be. I thought he was going to be that nickel corner instead of Trey Wayans there, but I mean, you can't have too much depth on the back end in today's NFL, so I'm okay with that. They still got Brandon Wilson there. Greg Mabin. Yeah, I mean, I like this unit. I really do. Jesse Bates III, I think, is a fantastic, a budding superstar. Maybe not superstar. I'll take it easy. Okay, I'll take it easy. But a budding star, a budding Pro Bowler. I think Jesse Bates is very, very good free safety. He is a ball hawk. I really like him. They went out and signed Von Bell from the Saints. I think there's a very strong possibility they cut Sean Williams, and then Von Bell starts there at strong safety. I think that's probably what happens. They can save a ton of money if they do cut him. I thought for a second there they might grab Xavier McKinney or someone like that instead of T. Higgins in the second round when McKinney fell, and they were going to cut Sean Williams. But either way, I still think it's a very good possibility they cut Sean Williams and they just start Von Bell and Jesse Bates. Linebackers, I think we're okay. I was personally surprised that we drafted 3 linebackers. I was personally very surprised by that. I thought Jermaine Pratt I really like, and Jordan Evans would be able to get it done. I think they'll be running a lot of nickel packages, obviously with the corners that they have and they signed. So I thought they would be able to get it done with Josh Bynes, Jordan Evans, and Jermaine Pratt. I expected them to draft at least 1, maybe 2, but they went out and grabbed 3, and then a couple, and then an undrafted free agent as well in Marcel Spears. But Marcus Bailey, Akeem Davis-Gaither, and Logan Wilson. Logan Wilson is a beast. I'm excited, very excited to have that guy on the roster, and Marcus Bailey, to be honest with you, and Gaither. They were all fantastic picks, so I can't get mad about it, but I didn't think it was a huge need, if I'm being honest. I really didn't, but I would have rathered another pass rusher, rotational type guy. I love Sam Hubbard, absolutely love him, Ohio State guy. Carlos Dunlap is obviously still can get it done, in my opinion. I think they're both have potential to be double-digit sack guys, as well as Geno up the middle. I think the signing of DJ Reader will help Geno, should help Geno get to the quarterback a little bit more. I like Ryan Glasgow as a backup, and Carl Lawson as well. I think he's a very, very he's kind of underrated, to be honest with you, but he is kind of rotational. So he's not, setting any records or making Pro Bowls just yet. But I would have liked to seen another rotational. I mean, Khalid Kareem, I think he's out of Kansas, I believe. He Notre Dame, sorry. I mean, I guess he's a rotational guy, but I don't know. I just would have liked some other guys. I liked some other guys in the draft over even, it's tough to say anything about these linebackers because I absolutely love them, but I just thought another pass rusher would have been a better option. And we'll see how Kareem does. And if Andrew Brown can take a step forward too, we'll see how it goes. But I actually really like this defense. I think it's kind of underrated. I think it has the potential to be a top 5 unit. Yes, I said top 5 unit in the NFL. Potential. It's the most dangerous word in sports. Potential. But I think it's there. I think they added some fantastic pieces, and I mean, my biggest issue with the Bengals is probably their coaching staff. I'm not really super hugely high on any of the head coach, offensive. I like Brian Callahan as an offensive coordinator. I shouldn't give him too much heat, but man, I think defensively, I'm not sure if Sweet Lou is the guy, if I'm being honest. We'll see. We'll see this year. This is the year that we'll know if the Bengals aren't at least in the top half of the NFL on defense. I think we need to look for another defensive coordinator. I do. You at least have to be in the top half minimum. And like I said, I think they have the potential to be a top 5 unit in the NFL. So we'll see how it shakes out, but there's your depth chart and your roster for my Cincinnati Bengals. Let's take a look at the schedule and the record prediction for the Bengals. I know I'm going to get some heat and be called a homer. Let's hear it. Bring it on. Put it in the comments. Let's go. I know that's what I'm going to hear. I just think that they've gotten that much better in the draft and in the offseason, and guys taking a step forward. So on the low end, 7-9. It's not crazy. High end, 10-6. My prediction, I think the Bengals are a winning team. I think there's a potential that they're a winning team, and they push for that seventh wildcard spot. I think the potential is there. Again, potential is the most dangerous word in sports, but I think it's there. I really do. If a rookie Andy Dalton can take the Bengals to the playoffs and do that 5 straight years, you tell me Joe Burrow couldn't be that guy with a similar type of a roster? It's there, man. Potential is there. So we'll take a look. Week 1 against the Chargers. I give the Bengals the win there. I really do. I think that they can get that win. I think Tyrod Taylor's probably the starter. Their defense is fantastic. Don't get me wrong. It's in Cincy, so they should be jacked up. And the Bengals defense is capable. We're definitely capable, especially if we're running that more nickel packages. It should negate a bunch of Tyrod Taylor scrambling around. I don't think he can run for like 100 yards against us. So, but I mean, they do have a good running game. Eckler's still a little bit kind of unproven, but I do believe in Eckler. Don't get me wrong. But I think that's absolutely a winnable game. So I think they can get that win over to Cleveland, at Cleveland in week 2, Thursday night game, short week, on the road. They're not going to win that game. I'm a realistic fan. They're not going to win that game against Cleveland. Then they go to Philly. They're not going to win that game. It's just not going to happen. The defense is too good. It's on the road. They're not going to win that game. Sucks to be me. At home against Jacksonville, we need to get that win. I think we can definitely get that win. We can definitely get that win, and I think we do. So if we start the season 2-2, there we go. Let's move on. Baltimore, at Baltimore, not going to win that game. Just not going to happen. At Indy, I don't think we get that win either. I don't think we go into Indianapolis and win that game. I just don't. Cleveland at home, we play the Browns tough. I mean, that's a potential game that we could get the win. If everything's going accordingly, everyone's relatively healthy, Joe Burrow is getting comfortable, that's a winnable game. It's much more winnable than early in the season in week 2 at Cleveland. We're not winning that game. This one, we have the potential to get the win. Then Tennessee at home. I like the Bengals to win this game. I do. I actually think that the Titans regress this season. I do. So if I'm right, I think the Bengals get this win. If I'm wrong, happens. Bye week 9, it's kind of I would rather it was a little earlier in the season, if I'm being honest, because of rookie quarterback. I'd rather have an early bye week for him to catch his breath. I think he's going to be a good pro, and I think he should be okay, but I would really rather like a week 5 or 6 bye week for the Bengals this year. I would. But either way, it's week 9. Nothing you can do about that. At the Steelers, it's going to be an extremely tough game. I think it's winnable. I think it's a winnable game, especially after a bye. Do I think they get the win? I mean, I think it's like a 60-40, to be honest. I think the Steelers 60%, Bengals 40%. It's going to be an interesting game. It's going to be after the bye week. It should be an interesting game. At Washington, again, I think that's an interesting game because the Redskins have a fantastic defense, especially the pass rushers. They have a fantastic defensive line, and all these guys can get after the quarterback. I think they're going to surprise some teams this year. So that's going to be a really tough game. And I don't know if the Bengals can get that one. Again, it's probably a 60-40 in favor of the Redskins. Yeah, it's very similar games to the Steelers. Steelers might have a better shot, actually. Obviously, I think the Steelers have a better shot than the Redskins, but it's close. Then the Giants at home. I think that one might be a bit of a shootout. I think that'll be a fun game to watch. Could be pretty high scoring. Same with the Dolphins. I think that one could be a little bit on the higher scoring end. Those could be some fun games to watch, and both very winnable. So we'll see what happens there. At home against Dallas, at least they're at home, and we'll see what happens with Andy. If if for any reason Dak sits out or something crazy, it'd be really interesting to see Andy Dalton starting for the Cowboys in Cincinnati. That'd be pretty fun, actually. I'd be happy with that. Obviously, I'd like my chances better, but and it'd just be really interesting. So I'm actually hoping Andy Dalton's starting there for some reason, especially in week, even if there's an injury or Dak sits out or whatever, week 14, Dallas against Cincinnati, that'll be interesting. And then at home against the Steelers, winnable game. At Houston, I think that's a very winnable game. Just because, I mean, even though it's in Houston, I mean, I think they're gonna. The Texans are an interesting team, and I'll get to them. We'll watch their episode, I guess. But that's a winnable game to me. Even in Houston, I think that's a winnable game. I think the offense, especially if everything's going well throughout the season, at that point in week 16, they should be pretty comfortable with each other, and hopefully things are going well enough that that's a game that, you know, it's probably a must win. I hope that it's a must win. That's a good case. That's the best case scenario, is that's a must win game type of a thing. And then that's one that's winnable for me. So we'll see what happens when the season gets there, but I think as it sits right now, that's a fairly winnable game. At home against Baltimore, again, it's going to depend on if the Ravens are sitting out guys. If they're sitting Lamar and they're resting for the playoffs type of thing, I mean, if that's a win, if that's a must-win win to get in the playoffs type of a game for the Bengals, and the Ravens are resting guys, hallelujah. That would be phenomenal. That would be absolutely awesome. I still think that they're a pretty dangerous team. Even if Robert Griffin is starting for them, I still think that they're a very dangerous team. They could still just pound the rock with, even if it was Gus Edwards and Justice Hill carrying the load, they could still be my Bengals, if I'm being honest. I think the Ravens have a fantastic team, but we'll see what happens. And if you're looking at it the way I am, you can kind of see where I'm getting my projections from. I don't think it's crazy. I mean, am I a bet on the high side? Yeah, maybe. I mean, the high maybe should be 9 and 7 on the high side, and 8-8 my prediction, and 6 and 10 on the low side. But hey, I'm a homer. I'm a Bengals fan, so I think that they have, again, the potential to do these things. So we'll see what happens. It should be an interesting season. I can't wait for football to come back and to watch my Bengals again. But there you go. There's the breakdown of the 2020 Cincinnati Bengals.